Hello everyone. The next topic which we will be discussing here is about the binomial nomenclature. So, what is binomial nomenclature? It is a binomial system of naming a species. So, it is a system in which the species are named. So, it is comprised of two parts. So, what are the two parts here? It is the generic name, which means the genus name, and the species name or the specific name. So they are divided into two parts, and it is often in the Latinized form, which means it is in the Latin form. And the various synonyms of the binomial nomenclature are binary nomenclature. So it can be called as the binary nomenclature. It can be called as a two-term naming system. So they are known by different names as well. Okay, so the next is, what is the definition of this binomial nomenclature? So the definition is that it is a system of nomenclature in which a species of animals or plants, they receive a name of two terms, of which the first identifies the genus to which it belongs, to the second the species itself. So it is a biological system of naming the organisms in which the name is composed of two terms. So I have told you that two terms will be, the one will be the of the genus and the other will be of the species. So these are the two terms, and the second which indicates the species. So this is what the binomial nomenclature is. Now, what is binomial nomenclature and who discovered this binomial nomenclature? So this system was discovered by Carl Linnaeus. So there are multiple local names that make it extremely difficult to identify an organism globally and keep a track of the number of species. So that creates a lot of confusion. So to get rid of this confusion, there is a standard protocol which came up, and according to it, each and every organism would have one scientific name which would be used by everyone to identify an organism. So this is a standardized system. So this process of standardized naming system, it is called as the binomial nomenclature. So all the living species, including the plants, the animals, birds, and other microbes, they have their own scientific names. Now, what are they? So here I have taken the example is of the Homo sapiens. So this is a pyramid which is representing that each color is representing some of the order of that species or that plant or that animal. For example, first is the kingdom, then the phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So if I take the example of the human beings, so human beings, they are called as the Homo sapiens. So the kingdom which belongs to the human beings is the animal. The phylum which it belongs to is the chordates. The class which it belongs to is the mammals. They are called the mammals. Order is the primates, family is the hominids, genus is the Homo, and the species is the Homo sapiens. So this is how a scientific name. So this is a standardized method in which the scientific name is being determined here. So the Homo, which represents the genus, and sapiens, which represents the species. So this is how the binomial nomenclature, bi, which means two. So they are being divided into two parts, that is the genus and the species. So they are called the Homo sapiens. So there are some rules for the binomial nomenclature. Now, what are these rules? So a biologist from all over the world follows a unique set of principles for naming the organism. And there are two international codes also, so that I will be representing in the next slide about the code. So first we will take a look at the rules of the binomial nomenclature. So the first rule is that all the scientific names of the organism are usually Latin. So that's why they are written in italics. So they are written in italics always. So there exist two parts of the name. So the first word identifies the genus and the second word identifies the species. For example, Homo sapiens. So in case of Homo sapiens, the Homo word is represented as a genus and the sapiens word is represented as the species. So when these names are handwritten, they are underlined or italics. They are in italics if typed. So if in italics, they will be typed, but if you are writing that name, it will be underlined. And this is done to specify its Latin origin. So that is why this is done, just to specify the Latin origin. So the name of the genus starts with the capital letter and the species starts with the small letter. So for example, if I am writing Homo sapiens, then it will be like this and underlined. So this is the way in which a binomial nomenclature names are being written. The next is, I was telling you about the codes of the binomial nomenclature. So there are two international codes which are agreed upon by the biologists over the entire world for naming a protocol. So according to these codes, the nomenclature is being finalized. So the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, it deals with biological nomenclature for plants. So this code is for the botanical word is coming here. So the botanical words means it is coming for the plants. And the next international code is for the zoological nomenclature, which deals with the animals. So zoology, it deals with the animals. So this is how the two codes, they are being represented. So these codes make sure that each organism gets a specific name and that name is globally identified. So that name will be globally identified. So the botanical is for plants and the zoological is for animals. Now, as I was telling you that the naming of this, each name has two parts. First is the generic name and the second is the species name. So this is how they are being divided. For example, if I take an example of the other scientific name, that is of a tiger. So the scientific name for tiger is represented as Panthera tigris. So, so the Panthera, it represents the genus and the tigris, it represents the species. So in this way the scientific names are written and each of them represents the generic and the species. So there are few examples as well. So tiger, I have already told you. Then comes the Homo sapiens, which I have already told you. And the Indian bullfrog, which is scientifically written as Rana tecrina. So this is the name of the genus. The Rana is the name for the genus and the Tigrina is the name for the species. So in this way, these are being written. Now, why the binomial nomenclature is important? So as stated previously, there are a million of species on the earth, in the world, that are distributed throughout the world. So the same organism are known by the different names around the world. So this can cause confusion when we are trying to identify or classify that species. So that is why binomial was seen as a viable solution for this problem. So that is why it is given so much importance. Now, why the binomial nomenclature is very much important in biology? So it is essential to integrate the naming system across the life science, and therefore they assign one particular unique name for across different languages. So it is used specially by the taxonomist in naming or identifying the species of a particular organism. So it is used to come up with the scientific name of a species that is often based in the Greek or the Latin language. So I have told you this part. So the generic name is a taxonomic genus. A genus is basically a rank in the classification system that is generally below the family and above the species level. And it is comprised of species with common attributes. So these attributes may be based on structural similarities or the phylogeny. And the second part is the species, which is particularly referred to as a specific epithet. So the second name sets a particular species apart from the rest of the species within the genus. So this was about it. Now what are the drawbacks of the binomial nomenclature? So the drawbacks are, if two or more names are currently in use according to the law of priority, the correct name will be given the first, will be used first, and the others are being used as a synonyms, as the validity is the senior synonym. So the name used prior to those included in the system are natura balinis, they are not recognized. So this is what is the drawbacks of the binomial nomenclature. So this was all about the naming system or the binary system or the system binomial nomenclature. So these are some of the references. Thank you.